And we're going to give them a lot of truth and a lot of love. Wait a minute. They don't get truth from other people.
Nah, these people proficient. Exceptional.
Sure about that?
No, because they lie suck too.
Yeah. Like a bunch of high schoolers, don't you think?
I swear we're not a political show.
But I'm not going to dog the high schoolers like that.
Nah, because I don't think the ones we got in there could pass the high school constitutional test.
No.
They couldn't do it.
No, folks.
Definitely know the one at the top of the chain couldn't do it.
Oh, heck. No. But hey, y'all, it's us, Elevated Vibes, right here on IntellectualRadio.com, our iHeart radio station. You got the boss man.
What up? Would it be like?
And your boy Abdul Rashid, and we're going to get this thing going, y'all. All right. Now, we should speak on adolescence, but today we're not going to. Well, we might sprinkle in a little bit. We got to talk about
the whole gamut. I mean, we've been off 2 weeks.
Yeah. We may sprinkle in a little bit. There,
between Department of Education gone, I don't think no planes went down this week, so that's a good thing. Nothing happened this week. The bird flu, that's still going on. The budget pass. We missed that week because we remember the week before I was talking about the white moderate.
Yeah, no doubt.
And we see what happened in the Senate.
So yeah, I know. It's a lot to deal with. But we got to speak on this just a little bit because it can affect all of us, even though because it was just a certain amount of people, a certain it was the immigrants that it affected, but it can touch all of us.
They're technically migrants.
Yeah.
Trying to apply for
and getting here
asylum, various whatever.
Get here for a better life. Let's just say that. Okay. But everybody, we're gonna speak on Agent Orange deporting folks, and they all were not criminal.
Technically, we don't know who was and who was not a criminal.
At least 30 of them was not. At least I could say that because I mean that's what's been written. I could say that. I'm not saying that there were not some criminals in there. But
I am until you show me something.
I'm just saying,
like a tattoo do not make a gangster make.
No, it does not. And that ties into everything we speaking about. All right, folks, we're talking about Trump deporting migrants to a very notorious mega prison in El Salvador.
Oh, don't forget the ones who went to Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, but at least
no.
Okay, we can go for that too. I'm cool with that.
How you gonna determine once you in hell? You can't be like, oh, at least I'm on level 2 of hell. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, I'm just saying, bro, because everything that I've sent you and so forth about that prison and everything that I read, I'm just like, my God, they actually, how can I say, they put together a place like this. Now, just going with the history that has things that have went down in El Salvador, it used to be one of the most dangerous countries on the planet. I mean, in many ways, it probably still is.
Yeah.
So I understand the reasoning somewhat. Let's stress that somewhat. Let's put like 2, 3.
What reasoning?
Well, you had to try to take a grasp on the high level of crime that was there. I get that.
You're talking about El Salvador?
Yeah, El Salvador.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I get that point. I won't even take that away. But how can I say? The president of that country calls himself the coolest dictator in the world. That's what his own words. I'm gonna actually give you the guy's name.
I mean, look, drastic measures had to take place.
Hold on, if I'm gonna say it right, Nayib Bukele. All right, the president of El Salvador calls himself the coolest dictator in the world. Yeah, you can't make this up. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't want to get into the history of El Salvador, but
I mean, I just want to give the folks some some history of it so they can have some understanding of this place, because if you really look at it, okay, if it was some notorious gang members, Trinde El Agra, if I'm saying the name correctly, if there if
Go
if
ahead.
there were, then I get it. But a lot of the other folks are not gang members. And what are you going to create when they come out in a year?
Well, first of all, let's
And
go.
notice I said a year. Go ahead though.
We have to give some context, and I'm not even talking about the act of itself. Why were Venezuelan citizens sent to El Salvador? Right. First of all, we in America. You trying to tell me we don't have enough prisons here to hold and house people here? That's one. However, let's give the full context, as you may or may not remember, because it's only been when did he get in office? January 3rd. So it's only been 2 months.
So there's more to come. Huh?
Yeah, more to come. We're not even through the first 100 days. You have to remember and recall that at the beginning of the Trump term, there was a little brouhaha between him and the president of Venezuela. For those who don't remember, there was about returning Venezuelan citizens.
Oh no, that's Colombia. With the brouhaha was with the Colombian.
But we
president.
also had one with Venezuela. The Venezuela one was. It
sure was.
We don't send military planes.
Yeah.
Into return them on passenger planes.
Right.
And when I say we, the powers that be took some umbrage with that and said and it makes sense. If you send a C-130 and you got the 82nd Rangers on it, and I believe that these are Venezuelans who are being repatriated to their country, but you on board, you got the 82nd Airborne. So we typically, unless we get explicit permission, don't fly military planes into other people's countries.
Yes.
And I don't know where the Venezuelans may get this crazy idea that America may want to take over another country. Why would they think that when we have the most friendliest people to our north, Canada, the 51st state, and Greenland, and the Panama Canal? So I, as a Venezuelan president, said, hey, you know what? I got it. Please don't send military planes, return them. Right. And because this presidency, these powers that be, not only it's not just the gross incompetence, it's the meanness of it. It is the meanness of it. Like, let's say they were these gangs, right? Why are you sending Venezuelans to El Salvador? That the part that don't get me, like, that's why we have diplomacy. We work through these issues. So if the issue is we only going to allow you to return them on passenger planes, then so be it. You know what I'm saying? Or you give Venezuela the opportunity to say, come get your citizens. We'll allow you, to land aircraft here and, return the citizens to their country. But now you created a diplomatic quagmire, because now you have Venezuelan citizens sitting in a prison, convicted of a crime allegedly in America and belonging to a gang. Now you got to remember, just belonging to a gang is not the crime, unless you face RICO or your name is Puffy and you've just been charged with conspiracy of one. But just belonging to a gang, we are allowed to freely associate with who we want to associate with. But now you have this diplomatic nightmare, because you have foreign citizens who are alleged, not proven, nothing, to have committed crimes, and we're told that they're members of a gang. You've deported them into a foreign country. This foreign country is now holding them. We don't know why, on what grounds. You know what I'm saying? They didn't commit crimes in El Salvador. They committed crimes in America, right? And now the Venezuelans are trying to communicate with their citizens and have been unable to communicate with their citizens.
Well, see, that prison is notorious for that. That prison will not give you any communication, not give you any
and that's fine. It's not fine, but that was designed for El Salvadorians,
right,
not Venezuelans.
exactly,
and not Venezuelans who have not committed a crime here. We don't know the status of any of those people who were on that plane.
Well, also too, that's another example of the orange spoiled little brat. He gets in his mood, just like you said. They had a little tit tat, okay, and he gets in his little mood and he wants to show power. He wants to show power, and for no reason.
No, he does, and it's just the least among us, always has to show their power. Is I wonder if he truly understands his lack of basic political I'm talking stuff that you should know in social studies from 6th grade.
Yes.
To allow this, like, you are already deemed one of the worst presidents ever, and now you're just putting your stamp on it.
Right.
And so you sit there and you say, oh, who are some of the worst presidents? Herbert Hoover, I don't know, Miller. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But I do know who's topping that list right now.
Of course, he is.
And it's Trump. So yeah, and so this act that he used was not proper. And we could talk about that. I know, we started a little late, so we're going to kind of hit it and quit it, but here's the thing, and I'm beginning to understand and realize we must have a basic agreement of facts. All right. What this has proven, at least to me, is that there is a dearth of knowledge about how politics are supposed to work. What are the powers of the government? The co-equal branches of the government. It's kind of like we took social studies and American history out the schools. And, I was hearing about something about, like, today's teenagers, like 40% of them don't even believe the Holocaust happened or don't even know what the Holocaust is. And, we're seeing the erasure of American history, as it pertains to people of color. What is the reason that you want to eliminate Jackie Robinson and his accomplishments from,
well, they destroyed that history.
The Montgomery bus that Rosa Parks sat on. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to get rid of the Enola Gay, the plane that dropped the bomb on Japan? You know who did that search? That sounds like something that a 5th or 6th grader said, like, oh, I'm just going to put in this. And I saw Enola Gay. That was named after the pilot's mother.
Yes.
Now, why you named the plane that dropped the bomb after your mom, I don't know, but whatever.
Right.
But it is the erasure of history, and there has to be a reckoning where we got to start. This is a white nationalistic government. Like,
right.
We got to call it. Like, stop playing around, stop messing around. And when you view things through the lens of, oh, this is some white nationalism, things start to comport and make sense.
Right. And you gotta look at it, and people miss this fact. They're destroying the history because if you remember, I want to say it was about 2002, 2003. It may have been a little earlier, where they were saying that no longer will Caucasians be the majority in America. But hold on for a second. So they're doing their best to erase different things for a brand of longer control.
But here's the thing, and this is the economics. It ain't enough of them to continue to drive the economic engine of America. It's just you don't have the numbers.
I agree with you.
And
I agree with you. But you told me this. I think you said something. They want power for the sake of power or whatever. So they're they're going to do whatever they can or whatever they feel that they can.
Look,
Because if you look at it through this whole situation here, he used the Alien Enemies Act. Okay. This has not been done since World War II. And it was found to be, even though they didn't abolish it, but it was found to be that it was unconstitutional. But you still use that act, and it is.
The country had just been born when they passed the act. It was passed in 1789.
Yes.
So the country had only been in existence roughly 13 to 16 years at that time.
Correct.
And we were worried about French agents on American soil. We were worried about French agents on the American soil, and we were a newly formed government.
Right.
And we were worried about them interfering with the formation of our government, right? And so, and then World War II, they were used to, intern the Japanese, Germans, Irish, and Italian Americans, right? And so this is the act that they use. Now, here's the problem.
Yes.
And here's the issue that people, if you know, and I think we all should know, it is a constitutional crisis when a judge in the district court said, turn the plane around, bring them back. And, this isn't a permanent, but I'm telling you, as a federal district judge appointed by George Bush, turn the planes around, bring them back. And your response is, oh, they were over international airspace, and so he didn't have jurisdiction over them. No, but he has jurisdiction over the American plane that you're using to fly down there.
Yes.
And so what is happening, and this is the brilliance of Marbury versus Madison, is that the court had to position itself because it knew it didn't have power, but it says, you know what? We're going to maneuver ourselves, and we will be determined ourselves to be the umpires of the game, right? We get to say what the intent is and all of that stuff, because when you look at the Constitution, it doesn't necessarily give power to the judicial branch. It is through interpretation of the laws and statutes and case law that we have understood the court to understand, like, hey, these are the final arbiters of what the law and what the ruler should be. They are the ones who decide what is and what isn't constitutional, right? And, you had one of the presidents say, oh, I think it was Jefferson or Madison, when the court said something, said, or maybe it was Andrew Jackson, I don't recall. But anyway, there was a famous saying, it's like, okay, the court interpret the law, let's see them enforce it, right? But no other president since then has said something like that, right? Because we have always depended on the goodwill of people who are occupying those offices, Republican or Democrat, Federalist or whatever, to follow the rules of the court. We don't hem and haw about it. Like, now, you got to remember Brown v. Board of Education or the integration of the Little Rock. We had states that were defying the courts. And the federal government stepped in and said, no, we're going to enforce this. I'm going to nationalize your state, armies, your National Guards, and you shall enforce the will of this court, because this system only works when, A, we all believe that we are equal and we agree to be governed by this court and the powers that be, right? We all agree to this. This is the oath we take as American citizens, right? But now you have a president who is flaunting the orders of the court, right? And we depend on the executive to enforce what the court says. So what do you do when the executive branch goes rogue? And they're at the point now where they've told the judge, we're not even going to answer your questions.
Right. And also, too, from what I had just heard today through a couple of different social media things, that they're looking to that whole section of the federal, he was a federal judge, correct?
He's a federal district judge, yes.
They want to try to abolish that whole federal district judge, that whole section, because of this. How far can that happen?
So first of all, it got so bad that John Roberts, Roberts of the court
of the Supreme Court,
yes. And this court will bend over backwards to, appease, King Trump, he had to come out and say, you don't attack the judges, right? As someone who operates in the law, and things like that, you take the judges seriously, And so when he ordered this, and you want to him and Han says, well, it wasn't written. No, ain't no attorney, and I said ain't no attorney on this side of the sun.
It's okay, brother.
Yeah, who has ever said, well, Judge, you didn't write that order, so it wasn't for real. Anybody else will be held in contempt of court. And the only thing that's stopping this judge, I think, so far is he got to figure out, you got to play it carefully. Like, how do I enforce the will of this court? Normally it's contempt of court and we throw you in jail and we make you pay a fine.
It shouldn't be some type of fine or so forth going towards the lawyers, the prosecutors for this case, on the fact that they launched those planes before that court case.
Well, first of all, one of the planes was in the air,
right?
One of them was on the ground,
right?
But what does penalizing the federal government do, and how does it dissuade those who are intent on defying it's the federal government? So yeah, I can impose a fine. Someone hit you with a $25,000 fine. Yeah, you might think twice.
It's an issue, right?
What fine can he impose on the federal government?
Now that I have no idea, but I'm just saying that something got to come back.
I mean,
that the judge can hit back with them. You know what I mean?
Even if he did impose a fine, the dude who probably got a write the check, it probably got fired. So,
speaking of that, and I forgot all about this part. We paid El Salvador $6 million.
Yes,
$6 million.
$6 million.
But wait a minute, they're supposed to be cutting all this other waste and so forth. But you just paid a whole other country to house,
because they need $200 million to operate that prison.
Yeah, but you just paid a whole another country to house maybe, what was it, 280 people or something like that?
Look,
$6 million that we supposedly don't have.
No. It's relative to your position.
Oh.
$6 million to the United States federal government is what a penny is to you and I. All right, that what is $6 million? That ain't even a tenth of the defense budget. So,
but wait a minute, all these people were they elected this man because they needed more money, more food on their dinner table, right? That $6 million could at least pay for one of their dinners, right?
$6 million is $6.
I'm just saying.
No, $6 million is to you and I.
I mean, we do have eggs that's about what, $12. I mean, come on now.
I saw a video of a dude that was pretending like he was a drug dealer, but he was doing eggs. He was putting the eggs on the scale and weighing them out. Like, I was like, yeah, that's the point we're at.
Right.
So to get back to my point,
yes,
we
sir.
want you to understand, and why we're talking about this is, and here's the rub of the act. One of the things is due process, right? When you hear this term due process, what is due process? Due process are the rules that are in place to ensure a fairness and ensure that we are not subject to the whims and wishes of whoever the trier of fact is, right? So you're saying that these people are all gangs. A, belonging to a gang is not necessarily a crime, right? 2, what is the crime that this person committed, right? Are we talking a traffic crime? Are we talking about crime like shoplifting? Are we talking about retail theft? Are we, and even if that's true, let's say you did commit murder, right? That means they can murder against a U.S. citizen. That means you're supposed to be tried in a U.S. court, right? So the mere fact that you belong to a gang, now, first of all, being here illegally, and that means you didn't go through the proper process, is a civil crime, not a criminal crime. It's not criminal. That's a civil crime, right?
Yes.
Subject to fines and all of that stuff, and we kick you out and you can't come back in, right? So you've alleged that these people, and if they can do it to them, they can do it to you and to me. right? Because the first thing they're going to say is, well, Rich isn't a citizen. Well, wait, what you mean? Yeah, I'm a citizen. No, you're not. Yeah, I am. I was born here. No, you weren't. Where were you born? Senegalese. So we're going to put you on a plane and deport. Because here's the thing. And we don't know if there were American citizens on that. We've known Americans of Latino descent have been caught up in ICE raids, right?
Yes.
What stops all of that is that a third independent trier of fact looks at the evidence and weighs the evidence, right? Because you have to have evidence. Again, we're a nation of laws, right? And so you have to follow. This president did none of that. This was done on a Friday night, a Friday, enough time for this judge to say, turn those planes around. Like, I don't know what's going on. I need to hear about these 200 people. You're saying that they're members of a gang. They have a right. Now, we've heard stories. One of these guys is a soccer player.
Yes.
One of these guys was a makeup artist. What crimes have they committed other than they didn't go through the formal process of becoming citizens, or they snuck here or whatever? We don't know which one of them may have asked for asylum. Now, you've committed a crime because you've kicked out. It is not illegal to seek asylum. The only reason you're doing this is for cruelty. This on top of you trying to sign an executive order to deport 560,000 green card holding citizens, right?
Yes.
We know what they did to my brother in Colombia. They sent the police or FBI because he was speaking on behalf of Palestine. See, this is what happens. This is the erosion of rights. This is what we're talking about.
And then to even add on to that, which a lot of people don't see nor understand. All right, they were Hispanic, correct? But see, people don't realize that an Hispanic person can be of our skin tone, or they can be of a much lighter skin tone.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can right now, if I wanted to, I can call a guy right now from the Dominican Republic, and he's actually darker than me.
Yeah, I mean, we call them, Afro, Latino, whatever.
Right. And this is the understanding I'm trying to bring to people, because they need to understand, they need to see this, that you could be wrapped up in it just because, you may speak Spanish or whatever, or you may have tattoos. I got tattoos.
That's the part. If let's say your defense is, you can't deport me because I'm an American citizen.
Right.
Let's say that's your defense.
Right.
But they don't afford you the opportunity to go before a trier of fact and say, here's my driver's license, here's my birth certificate. And that's what we've been trying to tell people. What they do to the least among us, they could do to anybody.
Exactly.
And that's the danger of what has happened with this act. Now he's turned around. He's trying to send back 560,000 green card holding. That means permanent citizenship. They've done what they were supposed to do. Haitians, the Cubans done they finding out.
Yes.
And the Venezuelans,
right.
Or
in the Afghanistan.
Afghanis,
I'm sorry.
Well, even with the Afghanis, you got to remember, a large population of them came over because they helped us in our war, and they had to be repatriated here because they would have been killed in their country. But again, view it through the eyes of white nationalism, and this all makes sense. It all makes sense. Like, that's why the Cubans are finding out. My YouTube is filled with people, little clips talking about, Latinos upset because, Black people aren't doing this. And one guy said, man, it's as easy to blame Black people as it's historical to blame Black people as it is American pie.
Yeah.
And it's like, hold on, no, we did what we were supposed to do. It was called November 6th. We went out and voted, but the majority of the country voted for this. And again, if only someone has said something, and people are like, well, I didn't vote for this and I didn't vote for this. Well, when you vote for the bull, you get the horns too,
There you go.
And so these are
and
the
then
natural
we all got to smell of, you know what.
Go ahead. But this is the natural consequence. So now the question is, how do we move forward? First and foremost, we have to, at some point, come to grips with our racial past. All of this, and these single voter issues and all of that stuff, it is the meanness and cruelty that got us here, because it was like, well, as long as he's mean and cruel to you, I'm going to vote for it. No matter what, I'm going to vote for this. He promised you economic, largesse. Now, we knew that was garbage because we had his first presidency to call up on, and everybody was warning, right? And then, he promised you that, industry is coming back. No, who's going to build an industry in a country where the tariffs are subject to the whims, depending on what president he gets up in the morning and does this? Now we're looking at double tariffs with Canada. What is tariffs to China when they know, hey, let's see you get anything that's cheaper than what we're producing?
Exactly.
Like your wash machine now is $1,500.
Yes.
Your car parts. The reason he retreated from the whole car tariffs is because those things go back and forth over the border.
But it's about to be on though. He is.
Well, I guess we all better stop burning the Teslas, because that's the only thing that we're gonna be able to drive. Because those cars go back and forth over the Canada American border and the Mexican American border all the time, and we know it's a lie. He said for Canada it was about fentanyl. Less than 0.01% of the fentanyl comes through Canada.
Right.
And the Mexican president has declared war on those cartels that's using it. So that's a lie. It's not like you're going to bring industry back, here. Who's going to build that? And this is the problem with short-term thinking. And I don't know what the answer is, but
one, and I didn't mean to cut you, but one, people need to understand that he is orchestrating the biggest robbery that we've ever seen. And it's just off of what you just said, with the tariffs, with everything else. All right. You put all these tariffs on all these different things. And the only people that's coming up, the only people that's going to make the money is the people that's in his circle to get money like that run some of these American companies that they know that they're about to get their stuff hand over fist.
But
they have no competition. This is what he wants.
No, but
it's killing us.
No. The whole thing is businesses need stability so that they can do their predictive models.
Yes.
They can look at the growth and all of that stuff and the history. Well, now those numbers are in question because he's firing all the people who keep track of the statistics.
Exactly. And a lot of this is in that Project 2025, right?
Oh, he gave us the Department of Education.
Everything.
Yeah, that was like chapter 5. And remember when we first started all of this, why would somebody want to get rid of the Department of Education? It doesn't set the standards, but what it does do is make sure that those people who have plans, that those who are disabled are making sure that they get their services. We also know that, is responsible for, the loans and all of that stuff, and the administration of the federal government is responsible for Title IX. What harm, was coming from the Department of Education? And now he has literally grabbed the third rail of politics and, now is attacking Social Security, under this guise and rubric and lies of fraud, when we know that Social Security is probably one of the best governed programs that there are. And we need to step away from this, there's fraud. Well, you got rid of all of the Office of Inspector Generals.
Mm-hmm.
The generals are the ones who make sure and monitor and all of that stuff to make sure fairness and all of that stuff. So yeah. But yeah, he is doing things. We are in a constitutional crisis.
Yes.
Look, if we can't agree on that, well, then I don't know. I mean, because we are the lobsters in the pot where the stove is being turned up. And some people are out here saying, it's just a little warm.
Agreed.
It's a little warm. No. The heat is boiling.
Yes.
And, and I don't know how we make the siren call. I don't know how we get people to rally. I mean, we're seeing the rallies.
Yes.
You're seeing AOC, Bernie Sanders, and these people are going to rallies and stuff like that. But what it's really going to take is like another march on Washington, and to call out these Republicans who are not doing it. Maybe we do need to go back to the 1700s where people tarred and feathered their representatives. And now they are understanding the penchant of like, you don't own the right to violence just because you own the right. Now you're finding out, oh, the left, ain't messing around with this.
Yes.
Especially when you're talking about, what did my man say? Oh, if my mother-in-law missed 1 month of the Social Security check, she would just sit there and just take it. Well,
one of his cronies. I remember that.
No, Secretary of Commerce. I know
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, one of his cronies.
Yeah, billionaire. Like, yeah, because her son-in-law is a billionaire,
right? So she could afford to do that.
Oh my
with
God,
no problem.
And the very people that they talk about we hate, the elites. Each and every one of them is an elite.
Exactly.
And I'm drawing back to that whole thing that we've always talked about. The battle was lost when the axe convinced the trees it was one of them because of his wooden handle.
Yeah.
And that's literally what it is. And how this man played the okie doke on some, I mean, to some of us, it was as clear as day. But how he did it, I to this day don't know.
Well, one of those things is that he pitted us against each other. Even
we were already divided.
Yeah, but he made sure of that. He made sure of that completely. I mean, if you sit back and think about it, you had I'm not going to call him what Representative Jasmine Crockett called him, but you had the governor of Texas buzzing people up here, okay, on a constant basis here in New York, Denver, whatsoever. I mean,
Blue cities,
yeah, that was part of the plot to put us against each other, because they knew all they needed was a little bit for that pushover to get themselves in power
again,
and that's what they got.
Cruelty,
right? And now that they got that, we need to turn around. And I've said it in I think one of our previous shows, that we need to circle the wagon to protect each other. You know what I'm saying? We need to go ahead and do that and be on it, because you have things like this. Things what we were talking about today about deporting people to foreign countries, to next level hell prisons. We have to circle these wagons and protect one another, at least for these 4 years.
I mean, we're seeing it. We've seen him deport this Colombian kid, because he was speaking out on behalf of Palestine. We've seen him take money from the universities because, any talk of pro-Palestinians and all of that stuff is sometimes anti-Semitic, and we're looking at the universities capitulating where they're supposed to be the bastions. We're looking at universities capitulating to this. We're looking at attack on law firms that, receive money to help in his prosecution and do all of that stuff. So now he's going after the law firms, So what happens when you attack your law firms? You attack freedom of speech. You attack the courts. You attack the judges. You know what operates like that? A virus.
Yes.
Yeah. A virus.
Yeah.
And it's going after the white cells that protects the body, right? And so you weaken those. You put, Patel, who in charge of the FBI, and you besmirch those people and those agencies and fire those FBI agents because they were. And here's the thing, and we haven't even gotten into the long-term consequences.
Yes.
The reason people work for the federal government is, some security, right? Pensions, but also because we know that from every administration that regardless of political affiliation, whatever, as just a civil servant, I am going to have a job. Now you have broken the government, because now people are going to look and say, well, why would I take a job with the federal government when I am subject to the whims of whoever is occupying the office? And more than that, when a judge, again, has ordered the restoration of people to their jobs, paying them their money, and you keep playing around and putting them on, not disability, but administrative leave, while you appeal this. Why would I subject myself to that?
Exactly. And as you just called Battelle and some of these other middle schoolers. You put them in charge. So all it's doing is tearing down more of the fabric of what this government is. And then they even add on to it because we were just talking about the migrants and so forth. So you kick all of them out. Now I'm gonna throw two other things that a lot of people probably don't know that's happening right now. All right. There's been situations in South Africa. You know where I just said South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
They just invited some of the Boer family or Afrikaners to come to America to live. But wait a minute, do you not just kick out immigrants?
Yeah, but what color were they? One of these things is doing his own thing.
That's a whole nother thing. And
tell
then
me it's one.
let me hit on one more thing because I know we're short on time. Also, because of a lot of the migrants you kicked out of Florida, now Florida is trying to pass a bill that will allow children as young as 14 to work overnight.
Yeah, because they ain't got nobody to build no homes.
Right. And understand what that does. That helps degrade the education. Because, I mean...
Well, he got rid of the Department of Education.
Right. And that helps degrade it even more.
Right.
And it's a more thing of control over the people for further years on down the line to what I just say earlier this show, where that they're becoming the minority.
Is you take away communication, you take away education, you take away history. That way you keep the people dumb, stupid, and I tell them what they're supposed to know. You know what that sounds like? North Korea. You know?
Exactly.
And so when you do these things and people don't have a sense of their history, people don't have a sense of the education, we don't provide education, then we become even more dependent upon foreign nationals coming here because we're too stupid to do our stuff on our own, And so these are the natural consequences. And here's how it's going to happen. Let's say we do have another election, 2028. I say allegedly because I don't think this dude's going to leave.
They're floating that around too.
Well, we can't ensure the integrity of the voting systems and all of that stuff. And so the real test will be the midterms, and so at this rate, Democrats should sweep. They should be coming in control of the House and the Senate, right? I think that the House definitely. Senate maybe it may not be enough seats up, and it depends on who has more seats. But anyway, and then they could act as a check on the power, right? So then, and he knows what happens when he goes out, right? Because we coming after you for impeachment and all of that stuff.
Exactly.
So why would you give up? Why would you get? And thanks to our Supreme Court, he can seal Team 6 after whoever he wants, have them assassinated, and because he's president, he can't be questioned about it. And so that's the constitutional crisis, and people need to wake up. And even if you don't, just figure out who your representative is. All of us should be blowing up Dick Durbin's line right now. Be like, dude, it's time for you to go.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's time for you to go.
No doubt. Well, everybody, we come towards the end of everything, and we just wanted to say, make sure that you all keep the conversation going. You could jump on the Facebook group, and we can conversate about this all day long. Or you can always hit us through the email. That is the triple threat of radio, all one word, at gmail.com. Once again, that's the triple threat of radio at gmail.com. I'm your boy Abdul Rashid,
the boss man.
All right. And we will catch y'all next week. This is Elevated Vibes. Peace. Stay tuned for the Danasha Harrison Show.